Hi, I'm Dani.
And I'm Lelo.
And we are the Hitchhiking Ghostettes. We're a couple of crazy Disney adults that love to talk about Disney. So we thought, hey, let's make strangers listen to us instead of all the people we know who are sick of us.
It was either a podcast or an OnlyFans page of Dani's feet at the Disney parks. So, you're welcome, guys.
We're going to share our likes, our dislikes, our experiences, and travel tips with you.
And for those of you who are ready to grab some Mickey ears and create your own magical Disney experiences, message us or leave a comment so we can help book your next vacation.
And quick disclosure, we will be cursing and swearing, Musketeers, so this is your warning.
Yes. So sit back in your dune buggy as our podcast materializes. And don't forget to hurry back.
Hey, Disney adults. So thanks for coming back. This is episode 4, part 2, since our rants kind of got the better of us. So buckle in, because it's a bit heated.
Yeah, we have feelings.
Here it is.
Folks. Well, with that, we're kind of sliding into the What the Figment Disney segment of our story.
We are.
All right. Podcast.
Now, I have not seen Snow White, and I'm going to say this because then I'm going to hand it to you. I can also tell you that I don't feel your same obligation. I will not be seeing Snow White. I can say this definitively. I will not be seeing Snow White. I made the mistake of seeing Aladdin, the live-action Aladdin. And as we all know, Aladdin just has my heart. It has literally been my absolute favorite since 92. And the movie looked like an absolute shitstorm. I knew I was going to hate it, but then the moment got me and I was like, I should at least see it. Maybe it's not as bad as we think. And I can't tell you how much I wish that I could literally just delete it from my brain. I wish I could go in there like a hard drive and delete that movie from my brain. It was so horrendously awful. So I learned my lesson. Mm-hmm. I will not be seeing Snow White.
Okay,
so you braved it.
I did. All right. First of all, we go on opening night. And when you go on opening night at 6 p.m. and you're one of 12 people in the theater, that's not good.
Are you for real?
Mm-hmm. I went to go see Sonic opening weekend, and I had seen the popcorn bucket that they were going to sell all week. So we get there on opening weekend. They were all sold out within a couple of hours of Sonic coming out. There was so much Snow White merch all over the theater. I was like, ugh. I mean, everything. They even had some table pulled out with Snow White coloring cards that you can color Snow White on a table. They were just pushing Snow White. And literally nothing. Yeah, so there's 12 people there. Way too much merch. The popcorn buckets were... One was a regular steel one with a cartoon version of Rachel Zegler as Snow White.
A cartoon version. At the live action, we have the cartoon.
Exactly. So, that didn't make a lot of sense to me. And then they had, it's the box with the heart on it and the dagger through it. That the Queen's box, yeah, the Queen's box for Snow White's heart. So they had that. But the movie version, which is not as cool as the one in the cartoon, instead of it being red and with all these cool stained glass colors or whatever in it, this is just white.
White.
Looked like it was lame. And so I was like, okay, yeah, none of that interests me. Great. So we go into the movie. I saw a 30-second Stitch trailer that was better than the whole movie of Snow White. I would have gone back to watch that trailer 50 more times in a row, and I would have spent my time more wisely than if I had watched Snow White. Now, here's the thing. Snow White, it was okay. It was a debacle because of what Rachel Zegler did to literally destroy this movie before it had a chance. Because I will say, to defend it, it was very... happy. It was a happy Snow White. It was, how we're going into Maleficent or some of these other movies that are starting to be a little darker in tone, just a little bit.
The ones where they actually base it around the villain.
Yeah.
Maleficent and what was the Huntsman?
Yeah. Well, but that one, was that Disney? Snow White and the Huntsman?
I assumed it was because it was Snow White, but maybe it wasn't. I guess I don't know for sure.
Well, I just remember
with Kristen Stewart.
Yeah. Charlize Theron was, again, amazing. Again, the villains are always fantastic.
Charlize Theron.
The silly
always
girls.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then part 2, Charlize Theron and Emily Blunt. I was like, are you serious? Both of them. Amazing. They're supposed to be
Emily
sisters.
Blunt?
She was in the second one.
Really?
She was
know that.
the Elsa character, the Snow Queen. But the
Interesting.
actual Snow Queen, the angry one.
Because I have no interest in seeing that movie.
That's the only reason to watch it.
But I love Emily Blunt and
Charlize Theron.
Charlize Theron.
Who does come back for it. You should watch that one, actually. Once they got rid of Snow White, the movie was fun. It was great. But for this movie, it was a happy tone. It was a very live-action Disney happy tone, which was great. That was a pro. From the get-go, when they start to explain that this clearly Hispanic queen is giving birth to a Hispanic daughter, and she's in a carriage on a snowy day, so they decided to name their child Snow White because of the day she was born. I was like, all right, sure. And the dad still was like blonde, blue-eyed. Like, I was like, I just don't get it. And then
so you see both her parents.
you see both of her parents. And then you see how they have this beautiful, wonderful kingdom, and they're just, everyone's happy, and the kingdom was based on sharing, and everyone loved and got along with each other, and it was just a very happy kingdom. Then the mother gets sick and passes away, and then this beautiful, seductive, exotic woman, Gal Gadot, comes in and somehow entices the king, and of course he marries her. Then shortly after, he's got to go to war, and he never comes back. So now Snow White and the queen are there. So she's so afraid that Snow White's going to be more pretty than her, or prettier than her, that she cuts Snow White's hair. Snow White had long, beautiful hair, and she cuts it, which I can only assume is what they're trying to pass off for why this haircut was so horrible. Like, I couldn't get over the bad hair.
Thank you. Because that haircut is so bad.
I was like, what? It's so bad. And there's no reason for it. You know, I work in the beauty industry on the side, or during my day. I know that there are plenty of short, cute bob haircuts that could have worked. That did not have to make Rachel Ziegler look like she had a forehead that was the size of the Empire State Building. She had a 5-head? Rough. 5-head, really 12-head. Like, this was, I was like, whoa, it was rough. It did her no favors. And unnecessarily, they could have done something cuter. So right there, the hair, bad. Even the little girl that played Snow White had a better haircut than what they give Rachel Ziegler when they keep her hair short. It was just, everything was bad. Then, the thing is that Rachel Ziegler, I mean, one of the reasons why this movie got so much controversy was, well, first of all, the dwarf thing. Like, we talked about that. The little people that didn't want to be
sets of controversy over the
right.
dwarf thing.
So that's another thing I'll get to.
Because the dwarves, they were fully CG, right?
Let me get to that.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, that'll be coming up too. Nonsensical. But they, Rachel Ziegler had been saying that, there's no stupid love story. Like, she made it seem like there was no love story, that it was just about Snow White becoming her own woman and being empowered and going out and fighting for leadership, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of the hate was because people felt like, oh, you're going to leave the love story out of Snow White? Like, literally, this girl can only wake up from her curse with true love's kiss. How are you cutting out the love story? Which is a valid point. Well, Rachel Ziegler completely misrepresented the movie. There's absolutely a love story in it. It's just, for some reason, they decided not to make him a prince. They made him like a homeless beggar thief.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Are they trying to, like, is he Aladdin? Like, what is happening?
So basically, at one point, this movie became Snow White meets Robin Hood. That's literally what happened in this movie. He's supposed to be, she saves his life kind of in the beginning. And so he says, thank you. And he runs off, and he didn't realize.
So we've got mermaid in there too? Okay.
Yeah. So we got tangled. We got so much going on right now. It was ridiculous. But she saves him. And apparently, from what everyone else is saying, he's a part of a band of thieves that live in the middle of the forest. Okay.
What?
Really? So he runs off into the forest, and then she, the whole thing with the huntsman, he has to take her out because the mirror has finally said Snow White's kinder. So, yeah, she's more fairer than the queen. So,
I thought that only referred to beauty. It's fair, not beauty.
it
Do I
did,
not
but
understand?
then the mirror later on eventually says that she's fairest from deep within. So basically her beauty comes from within, which is why the queen will never beat her. Which I thought was great. Awesome. Okay, so she goes through the Snow White's scary forest. And this is where we're already seeing this total shit show of bad costumes. I'll tell you that right now. The costumes were terrible.
The costumes looked terrible.
The Snow White costume, I was like, come on. Cinderella had a gorgeous dress. Belle had a gorgeous dress. These live actions. They were able to costume these princesses amazingly. Why Snow White got such a crap costume, I have no idea. The other thing that bothered me about Rachel Ziegler, besides the fact that she's she just came off not my princess. So this is how she acted the whole thing. And I'm sorry for those of you who are only listening to audio, you can't actually see it. But she constantly moves around like she just got acting 101 lessons in princessing. Because she was just like doing that kind of thing. Like
a park princess
yeah,
or something?
like a park princess. But I was like, this is ridiculous. And she would run around the corner and just, like this crap where you like flutter your arms. Yeah, totally dumb. And it just was, it almost became distracting. It was very annoying. And then she's running through and then just gazing at things wondrously. It's like, I could read the script bylines just by her face. Because like, oh, this is where she's looking curiously at the, squirrel, whatever. It's totally dumb. But she's overacting. It's really kind of irritating. She goes to the dwarves' place. Then we get in with the dwarves. They sing Hi Ho. Thank God. It's the first original song that I've heard this whole movie, or from the original movie. Unfortunately, the rest of the songs I've heard to this point, which have been about 20 songs, they're all original songs that were terrible. The music in this, other than the original cartoon songs that they brought in, all the other songs were awful. There's this one called Princess Problems. Oh my God.
Princess
I know.
Problem?
I'm
this
getting
sounds
ahead of
like
myself.
an SNL skit.
It felt like an SNL skit. I'm watching it and I'm like, is this for real? It was so bad. And that was sung by the guy. He's making fun of her for being too uppity and princessy. Oh my gosh, guys.
The
Seriously.
guy that she ends up with?
Yeah, the guy she ends up with. Her thief, her beggar.
Mocks her.
Yeah, Robin Hood.
Mocks her.
Mm-hmm. Mocks her completely.
So the courtship in this movie is him mocking her in song.
And then she proves him right, or proves him wrong. I'm not really sure how. Whatever. It was just so silly, guys.
Were the things he was saying in the song true?
Well, I mean, he knew her for about 10.5 seconds. So for me, it was a generalization of maybe any woman he'd ever met, but not necessarily anything he saw Snow White doing. She didn't have time to do any of the stuff that he was accusing her of doing. So, it's just one of those things where I'm just like, okay. It's just another song they needed to write and put in this movie because they had too many songs. Every time they sang, and I love musicals. My husband hates musicals, and this... he wanted to slit his throat. He was just like, this is the worst. And I'm watching the movie, and even I got to the point where I was like, oh my God, they're going to sing again. Like, I couldn't take it. They sang all the dialogue. It was insane. But she gets to the dwarves. These dwarves are monstrous. They are weird-looking CGI dwarves. Dopey has hair. Looks like the guy from Mad Magazine. The...
Alfred the only thing I ever liked out of the first movie. He's
the most likable dwarf, kind of, because they're all kind of annoying. Grumpy was okay. Grumpy was pretty good. But again, they were just so overly CGI'd and done. They were just creepy. Like, if I was Snow White and I had woken up and I had seen those 7 faces, I would have hightailed it out of there so quick you couldn't get me there. Like, it would be too terrifying. And then Dopey... At the end of the movie, he speaks. What? Yeah.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, not
Is
to
it
mention...
as bad as when they, made Tinkerbell speak? Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Actually, I feel it's worse, because that was a huge betrayal. Dopey does not speak.
No. That's, one of his defining features,
yeah.
is he's the only one of them.
Well, they have a whole time. They have a whole time where they focus on the fact that he's called Dopey. And they're assuming it's because he's a mute and he's not too bright. And she sees that he's upset by it. So she goes after him to have this talk with him about it. And it was like, are we getting real? That's just so deep. Like, are you serious? The the dwarf's name is Dopey. There's another one that's called Sneezy. I mean, are we really getting that deep about this? But whatever. So she goes out, she has a talk with him and brings him back in and makes him happy again. Whatever, guys. It's fine. Like I said, it had a happier tone. The cinematography was terrible. I could practically see the screen behind them. And then it's like they went to the dollar store, said, okay, where are all of your spring flowers? Okay, just grab clumps and clumps. And they literally just placed them on grass. Because it was so ridiculous. Like, all of the scenery was either painted or CGI'd or ridiculous dollar store props. It was bad. I couldn't get past it. I was like, why does this just look terrible? Everything looks bad. It looks like they didn't spend any money on it. Then we're going to, Whistle While You Work. Thank God that song was in there. The only person that doesn't whistle while they work is Snow White. She doesn't pick up a damn broom to help anybody.
What?
She makes everybody else do the cleaning. Everybody else. She doesn't clean a damn thing. She just dances around and tells everybody to whistle while they work and tells them, hey, stop bickering. Just whistle so you guys can get along while you're doing all the work. She doesn't help at all. Don't understand it. Whatever. I'm really trying hard to hold on to my patience while I'm watching this movie. Then she runs into the thief, Robin Hood, and his gang of merry men, which is just a bunch of, they say, actors. Now, help me understand this. One of the actors is a little person. Why can there be a little person in the band of thieves? You know, the band of thieves that didn't even exist in the actual story.
But
there's a little person there. But they can't have 7 little people. Why did that guy get the job and 7 other little people couldn't get the other jobs?
Right.
Yeah. So they had an actual little person, and then they had the crazy looking scary dwarfs that were CGI clearly. And every single animal, I loved how at the end it said something like, all the animals.
You're making me feel so good about my decision.
And I'm not even halfway through the movie, guys. It was bad. And then they have the Princess Problem song where he's basically making fun of her for the problems she has being a princess and that she, doesn't have the strength to stand up and go fight for her kingdom, whatever. And then they have fights with the men that the evil queen sends after her. And then
multiple?
Yeah, she sends like a whole bunch of guys after her.
So it's not just the one huntsman.
No. It was the one huntsman in the beginning. He comes back and now he's put in jail because she finds out clearly. And he didn't put a lamb's heart. No, he just put an apple in there.
He didn't even put a heart in there?
I know. I was like, girl, you didn't check? Like, what do you mean an apple? 40 minutes later, you find out that there's an apple in there.
Did they not want him to kill an animal?
No, I don't know what the whole point was. I was like, that makes no sense. So then they give Gal Gadot actually was a fantastic evil queen. She was great. I was excited and I was like, okay, even though some of the costuming, her costumes were pretty on point for the most part. There was a couple times where I thought, that looks like a black backsplash I saw at Home Depot. Like they just hung it around her neck. Some of the weird things that they had her wear. Like at one point she wears a cape that looks like a shower curtain that I swear I saw back in the 90s. I was like, okay. But there are other outfits that she wore that were great. I really like how they did her crown. I thought that was cool. So she is a serious villain. Like, she is just mean. And I loved her. And then they let her sing. And it's like, all my excitement to see her on the screen plummeted to the ground. Gal Gadot, I could watch you suffer the flu for 48 hours on TV and I would do it happily because I love you so much. But I will never sit through your singing ever again. Hands down, that was the worst. Not even because you're tone deaf, which it was rough.
The only thing I looked up because you mentioned that she sang, and I looked that alone up and listened to her sing, and it. Whew.
I know. I mean, I want to be positive about it because you know what. But the thing is that not only the tune she needs to carry, it wasn't a strong thing. But on top of it, they do this choreography, they make her dance, and she went from being villainous and scary to campy and silly. To the point where now when she becomes villainous again, I can't even take her seriously. And I'm sorry, when they make her the old crone, they did not make her ugly enough. And I know it's Gal Gadot, you can't. She's so beautiful.
I don't know.
But it's like they didn't even try.
I think they could have if they want. Because sort of like we said before, like, do you remember what they did to Charlize Theron in Monster?
Yes.
If they could have made her into a crone. If
they could have.
I mean, so basically this all sounds like super low effort. Like, that kind of sounds like the underlying...
That's what it felt like. All the effort was put into writing horrible songs that they made us suffer through. Because then there's they're all dancing outside the dwarf's house one night after a battle with the Robin Hood and the Prince of Thieves, or the Merry Men. They're all there together. And Snow White starts to sing a song about basically how she sees the light. It's literally, I see the light. It's a ripoff of Tangled. Yeah, it's a ripoff.
Not okay.
No, yeah, she's singing about how everything is okay because of you. And then as she sings it and then pretends not to be looking at him, he starts singing it, just like the same thing. Sings it to her without her noticing that he's singing it to her. And then they come together and start singing it together. Fireflies. I mean, they might as well have had some lanterns going. I was like, this is literally like watching a live action version of I See the Light. So
I feel like I would have gotten up and walked out at that point.
That
because
was,
you can't mess with
you
Tangled.
would have walked out way before that.
That's
you would have walked
true.
out before that. Yeah, it was rough. So I'm seeing that. I'm like, okay, that's irritating. And then they almost kiss, and then they stop. I was like, okay. And then other stuff happens, and finally the queen comes because she finds out, she captures the prince. No, sorry, Robin Hood, puts him in the dungeon. And then she goes and gets her poison apple. Now, that came kind of straight from the original movie. That was the best part, where she's making the apple. Except, of course, they make her start singing again. I'm like, come on.
She sang twice.
She sang twice. Ugh. So...
I remember how Gal Gadot felt about that.
I feel so bad because I love Gal Gadot. And I feel like... I'm wondering if she really thought she could sing, or if they did something to her like they did to Jennifer Lawrence in Hunger Games. Or like, we gotta make you sing this.
Well, I mean, because Dan heard it too, and like you can tell it's auto-tune for sure, which almost makes it weirder that it doesn't sound better, because it's like, okay, so you brought the auto-tune in, and then you even fell short just operating the auto-tune.
Yeah. Like, it would have been just better if they cut the song.
It worked great for Emma Watson. I mean, we can debate all day whether or not they should have just had someone else sing, but like, it worked. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can tell it's auto-tune. There's there's no way you can't. But they still made it sound good, and they made it work. Yeah. So it's like, that's why so many of the things you're saying, I'm like, it feels like it was just low effort.
They're like, we'll get it in post. That's felt the whole movie. It felt like they thought they were going to get it in post. And it was just rough. Gal Gadot, her campiness during that, it's like, it just didn't mesh well. She had lots of charisma, which of course is Gal, so of course she does. I mean, she was beautiful. She did the job when she was evil. She was terrifying. When she was campy silly, she was campy and silly. She did a good job at it. But it's just the same character doing both. It didn't make sense. So now you're a little less scared of her because she's so ridiculous now. Right, yeah.
So
you kind of took that away. Backwards. Yeah, and it was like, ugh. And then she becomes the crone, which wasn't old and ugly enough. And then she still has her same voice while she's the crone. So I'm like, Snow White, get it together. You didn't know that was her?
Same voice?
Same voice. It's her same voice. Like, when they do the obvious where they change her voice to make Snow White realize it was the queen, I was like, I don't hear the change in the voice. No, I'm like suddenly, I think the music was cueing us that we're supposed to know, oh, this is the reveal, but give me a break. So then Snow White eats the apple from this obviously unbathed woman that just used her nasty, gnarly hands to give her food. So she bites the apple, and they think that she dies. So the dwarves come back, and the evil queen, she doesn't get chased by the dwarves and murdered and does her magnificent fall. That does not happen. She goes back to the castle, and Robin Hood escapes, and he goes back to the forest, sees her dead.
I love that you're just calling him Robin Hood.
That's exactly what I was watching. It was ridiculous. And so, and that was another thing. His merry men, there were 7 of them. And I feel like I saw promo pictures of Snow White, but with the 7 thieves, that I feel like maybe in the beginning when people were like, oh, they're not even using dwarves, I think that they might have gotten mixed up with the 7 thieves.
Or that maybe that's how they still kept some of what they were originally doing before all the outrage.
It could be. Because the thieves had literally no purpose in this movie at all. I was like, why did this even happen? Like, I don't understand the point of bringing this person in.
Was it like, clearly if they get married, she has 7 people to stand behind her, the prince needs 7 too? Like, they both gotta have their posse?
That would be the only thing that could make sense. Actually, this movie didn't make sense at all, so it's just, I don't know. It just, I didn't understand the 7 thieves. It was him and his 7 thieves, and then her and her 7 dwarves. So,
You know what's kind of funny to me, though? Because you mentioned that in this movie, they basically rewrite the reason behind her name.
yeah.
That actually isn't original either. Because did you watch Once Upon a Time?
Yeah.
So,
Did they do the same thing?
So Snow White, Jennifer Goodwin.
Yeah.
And by the way, I love Jennifer Goodwin as Snow White. I really like how they actually made Snow White like badass in Once Upon a Time.
Me
I actually
too.
think that was really fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, you learn that, and I think they just did it because literally naming someone the color of their own skin is kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you put that in real life context, it's kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, we don't have a million people walking around named Beige, right? So like, but you
Skin.
learn, but you learn that her mother named her Snow because the day she was born was like a really snowy, very white, heavy snow day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, in Once Upon a Time, that's why Snow White is named Snow White. But she's still
Snow
White.
White, yeah.
And she also very much, I think she looked...
She did. She was a fantastic
She was
Snow White.
such a great Snow White.
That's what confused me. I was like, you guys already hit that really well. Both. Because the evil Regina was an amazing evil queen. Good Lord, I
Regina.
love that woman. She was
Yes.
amazing. So I remember thinking, wow, the only one I didn't like on Once Upon a Time, I really didn't like who they cast for Belle. And I love that actress because I watched her on Lost. But Belle, I was like, that was a weird miss. I didn't like her as Belle.
That's kind of hard for me to even tell one way or another, because if I'm being really honest, I didn't like her character.
Yeah, I didn't like Belle at all.
I did not like, she just drove me crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, would you get over it and move on, please?
Yes.
Like, they made Snow White badass and awesome, and they made Belle so irritatingly damselly and too naive. Like, inexcusably naive for too long.
Mm-hmm.
I got so tired of her story with Rumple. I just was like, can you be done? Please.
Yeah.
I'm done with this. How are you not done with this? So it's hard for me to judge the actor because I just didn't like the way they wrote the character Belle.
I didn't like... I had spent, 7 years or whatever it was watching Lost with her blonde hair. And she just... I would never have thought of her for Belle in 1,000 years. Like, she just... Nothing about her.
Blonde.
Yeah, she was... That's all she was. Totally blonde. Like, blonde. So to see her with brown hair, I was like, none of this really matches her in any way. Yeah. But anyway, sorry. That was a tangent. But yeah,
that's the
sings
only version of
terribly.
Snow White I gotta say that I've ever really, because I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of the original Snow White cartoon, but mostly because I can't stand Snow White's voice.
Yeah.
It's so high pitched.
Yeah, it was
I
crazy.
can't listen to a pitch that high for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
But interesting fact that, Walt didn't like Snow White. He at a later point he talked about how because there was a pretty strict deadline on them when they were working on Snow White, and so he said what actually got put out, to his mind, to his way of thinking, he felt it was very unfinished. He said he was really actually unhappy with it, and the finished product was not actually what he really, really envisioned and wanted it to be. It kind of became more about meeting this, because at that time the Disney company was in a very different place than it is now.
Yeah.
And they were very much up against expectations when other people needed from them to keep certain, money and things going. So I don't know, maybe they made a bad movie out of something that wasn't perfect in the first place.
Well, Snow White is I think one of those classic movies where everyone loved it maybe when they were a kid, but you haven't really, it's not a rewatchable movie.
I don't know anyone that says oh, my absolute favorite is Snow White.
I don't know anyone
I've never
either.
known anyone.
My sister, her favorite villain is the evil queen on that one. Yeah, she thought she was great, but the actual Snow White wasn't her favorite necessarily, I don't think. But whereas in the original movie, her hair looked almost like they were giving her that flapper look. Like she was almost like a flapper.
Like in the cartoon?
In the cartoon, yeah.
Oh, kind of.
That's where I was like, okay, maybe that's where it was coming from. It was just the sign of the times, the artists at the time were making the most beautiful women, and they had that flapper look. In the movie, this was just a terrible haircut. It was just awful. There was nothing I didn't find her cute or attractive in a way where I'd think, oh, this is a great princess. Like, no, not at all. And I had a lot of feelings about the way that they cast Aurora in Maleficent. Because Aurora, since she's my favorite,
right,
I was like, they need to find a teenage Charlize Theron. That's who needs to be Sleeping Beauty. Give me a break. Elle Fanning, I didn't love that casting.
I didn't even know her. Like, I don't even know what else
That's
she's ever
Dakota
done.
Fanning's sister, little sister. Do you know who Dakota Fanning is?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
It's
the one
her
that played
sister,
Aurora,
but-
like,
yeah.
she was complete. I just didn't even know what else she was, like, as far as in my world, that
Yeah.
was, like, her debut. Like,
Yeah,
I didn't even know
no.
she was. No, I know it wasn't. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah, no,
I've
I
never
know.
seen.
Yeah, no, I was like, when I saw that, I was like, of all the girls in Hollywood, like, why was she Aurora? Like, Aurora, in the cartoon at least, so uncommonly perfectly gorgeous that it was like, you need to find someone that looks like Charlize Theron but in her 20s, you know, like literally, or teens. So Elle Fanning for me didn't really do it, but I did like the way that she acted. Like, I did appreciate her acting. She was fine. So for Rachel Ziegler, there was just nothing about her that I really liked. I liked her more than I thought I was going to, because I really didn't want to see this movie. So, I mean, it was a little better, but I mean, I think all of the songs were, I mean, it was just too much. There was too many songs. You were making people sing that shouldn't have sung, and therefore ruining their characters. And then she gets kind of empowered, but then nothing really happens with her new... Okay, that's the other thing. So she puts on this big Red Riding cloak, and now she looks like Red Riding Hood. And I'm like, we got to get
Snow White's cloak was black.
Yeah, no, she's wearing a red with the hood and everything. She looks like Red Riding Hood. And it just felt like I was watching...
Is there a movie they didn't?
No, that's what it felt like. I was
Shove it
watching 12 fairy tales in one movie. She shows up, and then they take that off her or whatever, and then they almost kill her. And her big move, after she has the whole village kind of gang up behind her, no one actually does anything to help her, and her big move was to point out to each of the guards, you know, oh, Michael, I knew you back when I was a little girl, and we went to your house, and you would always share all these apples with everybody or cherries with everyone, and everyone loved you. You were a farmer, and oh, she would point to another huntsman and say, oh, you were, you know, Jonathan, you were the baker, and, you know, she would do stuff like that. And so suddenly they're all like, yeah, fuck the queen. We're going to be on your side now. I'm like, what? It was just like that. The queen is there.
So was that almost like that terrible scene in the live action Aladdin where...
Now that one I didn't see. I did not see the I know.
Don't. They gave Jasmine a song, which was terrible. It sounded very poppy and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. The idea behind it was okay, but the actual song was terrible. And I hated that it was so unnecessary, because Jasmine on Broadway has a song. So I was just like, you have a Jasmine song. You could just take it from Broadway. They did that with Beauty and the Beast, the song that Beast sings.
Yeah,
which
was
Broadway
great.
Song.
Yeah,
wonderful. Yes, I was like, if you want Jasmine to have a song, why couldn't she have her Broadway song? It's a great song. They gave her this terrible song called Speechless, but basically, there's this scene where the song is about, like, I refuse to remain speechless, like, you know, when I see bad things, and so, but then she starts calling out, like, she points to a guard, and she's like, you, like, who was it that, you know, helped you when you were in trouble that time? And you guys, she's kind of pointing out to, like, the palace staff that's now following Jafar's orders who shouldn't be. And basically, yeah, calling out, like, a memory of how they've been in her life.
Yeah. That's about the same thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, that's really great, Disney. You guys literally put no thought into this at all. You're like, hey, let's make the original even worse by just ripping off of a bunch of other movies. And none of them pieced together well. Mm-mm. But I'm telling you, I didn't understand why it couldn't just be a prince. What was wrong with Prince Florian? Why did we need to have Jonathan the thief? The street rat. / Robin Hood. It was just dumb. They just made all these changes that didn't make any sense. Like I said, making Dopey talk. Why?
Why
did that happen?
That just is not even...
Yeah. And it turns out, well, I guess you're not going to watch it, so...
I'm not.
Sorry, guys. Spoilers ahead for all of you that are racing to Snow White, which clearly none of you were there yesterday at the movie theater when I went, because
there's going to be
12
spoilers for Moana 2 as well.
Yeah.
Well, out there.
It turns out, you find out at the end that Dopey is the one that has been narrating the story the whole time.
What?
So... And he sounded just like Josh Gad, I swear.
No.
was like, what is going on? Yeah. And then at the end, everyone's wearing all white, and I don't think it's their wedding day because he's still wearing like beggar clothes, but they're just all white now, which she's in a dress, but he's still wearing like, I don't know. He like something from Abercrombie and Fitch, but white. And her hair was still short. And I was like, okay. Like, are you going to grow it out now? Please tell me, for the love of God, grow it out. Like, I was excited for the end of the movie thinking maybe they'll let her hair grow back out. Like, they'll get past that short hair because the queen is gone. Oh, yeah, the queen is gone because...
Not because she fell.
No, because she threw something at the mirror and shattered the mirror. And so that made her turn into dust.
So somehow her, like, life force was connected to the mirror?
Sure. Apparently.
Okay. That's fine.
And so she got sucked into the mirror. And then
and
the
she
mirror
also didn't know
itself.
somehow.
Apparently not, because she's the one that threw the thing into it because she was so angry. Because at that time, that's when the mirror said, you know, that Snow White was fairest from deep within. Whatever. Right. So she throws it and she dies. And she gets, blipped.
Blipped?
Yeah, that's what happens. She turns into the black ash and just disappears. So she got blipped. And then...
Sorry.
No, that's okay. The mirror fixes itself. And then... That movie, it was so rough. And my thoughts... the songs were terrible. Yeah, the cinematography was awful. I'm trying to look at all my notes. Yeah, I went through all of it. Yeah, I just didn't understand why it was okay to have a little person as a thief. But you couldn't have 7 little people as actual little people. That just made no sense to me. I was like, that's just dumb. That means you just denied 7 little people a job. That's it. Because if it's okay to show a little person, why was it one of the thieves? You know, those people that were never even in the story in the first place. So it just didn't make sense to me. And I know one of the voices for I think Grumpy was a little person. It was the guy that was in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, the little person that they have on the pirate ships.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. So, but I think he's the one that played Grumpy, and he was the best dwarf. More than Dopey. I mean, and Dopey was likable, but it wasn't my Dopey. Well, I don't even know what to say. It was crazy. The only thing that I could see coming out of that movie would have been a cool minecart ride, but they've already got a minecart ride, and so who cares? You know, that's the only thing that could have come out of that. Everything else is terrible. So anyway, so that's my feelings about Snow White. Gal Gadot can't sing, but even her terrible singing, she was still the best part of the movie for me. Yeah, I didn't really find any of the characters super likable at all in any way. So,
Moana 2.
Go for it. Moana 2.
Moana 2. What in the fucking figment was this? Made for TV bullshit. Oh my God.
The songs were terrible.
The songs were one of the worst parts of the movie. Everything about this movie from start to finish, I felt like was so bad. I think the songs were bad. The songs felt like they felt forced. None of them felt like they belonged. And they very much felt like you'd come up to like a moment and there's like a stop so that this song can happen. And it clearly is like just being shoved in somewhere where it doesn't belong.
Yeah.
Like, hey guys, for some weird reason, we just need this song. And this Disney musical song, like look at the Renaissance, right? Like you could literally pick out almost any song out of the Renaissance. And what the songs did is they were an integral part of the storytelling.
And when you say Renaissance, of course, you are referring to the Disney Renaissance.
Yes.
Which is what?
Which is Little Mermaid in 89 all the way up through 99 was Tarzan.
Okay, so that's you guys know, the Disney Renaissance, that's what's considered the Renaissance period.
89 to 99.
Disney kind of woke up and came back with some movies that were worth it.
Because Disney was not doing well in the 80s. Side note, in our house, we like to say the Renaissance actually started in 88 because we count Oliver and Company. But officially, The Little Mermaid in 1989 kicked off the Disney Renaissance, which went through 99. Tarzan would be the last. And then as soon as we hit 2000, we had Emperor's New Groove, which started what's known as the experimental era of Disney. After the experimental era of Disney, though, we had the revival, which was Renaissance-esque. And it kind of started with Princess and the Frog. We had Tangled, we had Frozen, we had to that period. And so, but the Renaissance songs were they helped move the story. Like if you listen to any of the songs sung in a Renaissance movie, it's giving you background story, or it's explaining something. Like, I feel like if you removed any of them, you would lose a part of the story. You would literally have lost like a plot point that tells you something about what is happening. They belong there. They also just were led up to and went into very naturally. The songs in Moana 2 are absolutely not. I feel like you could literally remove all of them.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't be missing anything. They all felt very forced. They all just were not well written. Right off the bat, I don't know why this movie was put in the hands that it was put in, okay? Musker and Clements, who should just be in charge of everything, did Moana. And that's why it's amazing.
And those were the directors, or
yes.
who were okay?
Musker, Ron Clements and John Musker. Aladdin, Mermaid, like the most incredible Disney movies, Princess and the Frog, Musker and Clements. The best music, Menken.
Yep.
Easily Menken. I do love Lin. I love what he has brought to the Disney universe. So I know we can debate on Lin, but anyway.
No, I mean, like Encanto, absolutely. He had some really cool songs, but the problem is that you can tell when it's a Lin song.
Oh, you absolutely can.
Yeah.
He's got a very distinct style, for sure.
And it's just,
But I love the music he did for Moana. I think I think he did a fantastic job of creating the score and everything. And it was also Polynesian. None of the songs in Moana 2 felt Polynesian at all. So they just feel like they don't belong in the movie at all, on any level. I think they're terrible.
Yeah, I feel like the rock song, I was like, you were literally just trying to find a reason to make him sing again, but...
No, exactly. Like, I think You're Welcome worked, because again, it very much belonged there. It showed you, like, Maui's history, why he is the way he is, and somehow they made it work. But I'm sorry, Dwayne, not great in the second movie. Like, I don't know, I don't know if they, like, changed the range of it or what, but it didn't belong there. It didn't work. It also just wasn't necessary. Like you said, it very much just felt like someone in a room was like, Maui has to sing. Shove it in there. Maui has to sing. And anyone writing a good story would have said, it just really doesn't work this time. But instead, they crammed something in that shouldn't have been there. The whole movie, I didn't like what they did to Moana either. I felt like in the first movie, they build out Moana's personality and her persona. And in the second movie, they basically just kind of cherry-picked one tiny piece of her personality. And it's that sort of twitchy awkwardness, that she kind of has, which in the first movie worked, and it was just kind of sprinkled in with the rest of who she is. But this movie, I feel like that's all you saw of her. She was just this twitchy, awkward person all the time, which I felt like was kind of a betrayal to Moana. I'm like, that's one tiny piece of her. Like, stop making her seem like some newbie that doesn't have any idea what she's doing.
Right, because the first movie, it was literally us watching her be comfortable in her own skin and who she is.
Yes.
And then the second movie, you're right. It was nothing but her second guessing, not knowing. She was like...
Right. And they also introduced too many new characters. Like, I think part of the reason that they narrowed her down so much was because she didn't even get an appropriate amount of screen time, right? Because, first of all, why did she recruit, like, the only person she recruited that made sense was the farmer, and he was the least annoying of the new annoying characters, but it's like, everything was just so, everyone had very flat, one-dimensional personalities, right? You had the guy who was obsessed with Maui, and that's all we have of him.
Yeah.
It's just his entire personality is his obsession with Maui.
Yep.
And then you have the girl that's upset, like, it's cool that she's an engineer, but again, that's just, her whole thing is just her weird obsession with boats. Like, she's just got nothing else to offer or talk about or do, and so it's like, so you introduced 3 new people that are literally on the boat with her. And we brought Pua, which, like, and I like Pua. Like, I bought the Pua stuffies. Like, I like Pua. He didn't belong there. It made no sense. Hey was at least comical. Pua was just useless. He was just another thing that you had to kind of be aware of. But he didn't belong there. It made no sense for him to come along. It was like, she put together this crew to go on this very important journey, and she put together the worst crew you could possibly put together.
Yeah.
It made absolutely zero sense. And I will say, weirdly, I kind of liked the scene where towards the end, again, spoilers, they're down under the water, but in that like bubble, and Moana's unconscious. And there's, you know, like the magic happens, and then the ocean presents her with her magical ore. I like the idea of Moana having, like, Maui has his hook. Like, now Moana has, you know, like a goddess-given magical object.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. Mm-hmm. And that one scene was the only scene that felt like Moana, that still had the, like, heart of what Moana is. And it's almost like someone in the very beginning kind of already knew that scene, but then it was handed to a crew about as good as the crew in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, they handed them this, and they were like, okay, we did this, but now for whatever reason, we're changing who's doing what. So you now need to do the rest of the movie that builds up to this. And it was just crap. Mm-hmm. I hated the dad. Like, I'm sorry, but your personality's not going to be that different from the first movie to now. I get that you've softened a little, and you've now come to trust Moana, and you know that your old traditions kind of need to die. But the fact that he's making weird 21st century references was just weird to me. I feel like Maui was able to do that a little bit, like when he made the tweeting comment and stuff, because Maui has a little bit of like Genie on Broadway energy.
Yeah.
So he kind of gets away with a little more. Also, Maui, like low grade, you sort of know there's some time traveling stuff going on, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of different. But to try and spread that out and let the dad talk about like selfies and shit was just weird. I was like, okay, I get that you've matured, but this personality change actually kind of feels more like you're just regressing into a really weird juvenile teenagehood in a strange way. Mm-hmm. So, and it just, the songs were terrible, story didn't work. I don't know why we had to become friends with Kokomura. Also, all of the sliming, somewhere around the 6th or 7th slime, Dan and I were looking at each other like, is this fucking Nickelodeon? Why is someone getting slimed every 5 minutes? That just was so dumb and cartoony, and like in a bad way cartoony.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The movie felt very like, remember the like Disney Channel original movies, right?
Yes.
That we accepted low grade writing and cheesiness from. Like, that was sort of where this belonged to me. It felt very made for TV. It felt very fast. Like, it literally felt like a team of people got together in the animator's room and, like, kicked this thing out in 3 days.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I felt when I saw that, too. And I was like, why are there so many villains? Like, I don't... Kind of villains. Like, maybe villains? I don't know. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I totally agree with you. I thought Moana 2 was absolutely awful.
It had no... You know what's... I feel like... It had no soul. Mm-hmm. Like, as weird as that sounds, I feel like...
No, that's literally the sequel curse with Disney.
It is, and I felt it so much stronger in this movie. It was strange. Like, again, if you sort of look at the Renaissance, or even... I mean, even outside the Renaissance, I shouldn't confine it to that, but even the Disney movies that have commonalities, right? Like, maybe, you know, all the princess-themed movies kind of have their princess thing going on, and they have their romances going on. But each one still had its specialness, its uniqueness, its soul to it, you know? Like, you know, Aladdin and Little Mermaid both were princess romance movies, but they were very different. They had their unique aesthetics. The characters were different. They had different personalities. The music was, they each had, there's a soul of The Little Mermaid. There is a soul of Beauty and the Beast. There is a soul of Hercules. This movie had none. That's what it felt like to me. It felt like this movie just didn't have the soul of Moana. It felt like it was just absent.
Yeah.
And so
agree.
It was very disappointing. And I gotta say, it got me thinking too, like, honestly, the movie game lately, weak.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like
Disney.
Encanto was the last good. I loved Encanto. Wish, like, I don't know when you started on that, but if you so desperately wanted to release the Centennial movie, which I get, maybe you needed to start working on it in like 2015. I don't know. But that movie was such a letdown. For so much buildup, that movie was such a it was just very meh. Again, it didn't feel like it really had like a soul to it. None of the characters are like I wasn't really rooting for anyone. And it also, I swear I might be crazy, but there were scenes in it, it looked like they didn't let the rendering finish.
Oh.
There were like some sort of weird, choppy. I don't know. There's just a weird, and I don't like. I get that they wanted to have all their references, right? Because it's a centennial movie, so they reference Snow White and they reference all of these different things, but you still needed to keep the animation consistent. Like the trees that start singing that are clearly a Snow White reference, they still need to match what Asha looks like, and they didn't. And like I feel like Asha and the goat were like kind of the same, but then the star kind of looks like it came from like a different movie, and then like the landscape at times would also look like it came from a different, like it was just a very meh movie, right? And yeah, like the sequels, and I feel like the movie game has been weak lately, and I don't know if it's because maybe they're just putting everything into the parks, because we all know that the parks have been just incredible and they've been getting all kinds of crazy exciting stuff, but like what is going on with the movies?
Well,
the
and
movie
you know
game is weak
for me. Do you remember the Centennial short that they did where they brought all the characters together?
I loved that.
I was like,
Once Upon a Studio.
They could have made that into a movie. If you had made a movie out of that, that would make sense. Wish, we didn't need Wish, but if you could have made more of a movie out of what you did with Once Upon a Studio, that would have been amazing.
Did you bawl like a baby?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Mickey sees
He looks at Walt.
Walt.
Oh my gosh. I was like, God, that alone deserves some time.
You know the thing about the music, right? In that moment?
No, what about me? Now make me cry.
I'm gonna make you cry.
There's another flash.
The music, so when Mickey like catches the picture of Walt and he stops.
Yeah.
And that music starts playing. So Walt's favorite song was Tuppence from Mary Poppins.
Is that what they're playing?
And our guy, Sherman, there was a piano in Walt's office. And he would go to Walt's office and play that song for him on that piano in Walt's office, which I've read is still there. And that music playing in that moment is a recording of one of the last times that Sherman played that song in Walt's office.
Oh my God.
I know.
Yeah. On that note, Disney, you should have just made a movie of that. Yeah, but that would have been an amazing movie. If you guys had done something like that, brought all of our favorite characters in just to make like a Disney Studios movie, that would have just been adorable, you know? Kind of like Roger Rabbit when you see all the studios, you know, it was just kind of a fun thing like that. Yeah, exactly. If they had done something like that, that would have been a lot more fun than Wish. I just think that Wish was
so... And like, I wanted it to be good because it was the Centennial movie. I wanted it to be good. I will say, though, what intrigued me a little bit about it is that king. I don't know who on that staff has, I theorize, real experience in this. That dude was a true narcissist. Like technically, clinically speaking. Like, I was watching this and it was like, it was getting to me. Because it's like, the bubbles with people's wishes, that's like his narcissistic supply. And he's just got this entire village completely hoodwinked. He's essentially gaslighted all of them with the way he's messed with their brains and what they've handed over to him. That part was kind of crazy. And then there's that theory that it's supposed to be the prequel to Snow White, because in the end, spoiler alert, there's like the glass shatters everywhere, like all over the town square, and he gets sucked into one of the shards of glass, and you have to pause it at the exact moment or watch it like in super slow motion. But there's a very fast, like we're talking millisecond, there's a very fast glimpse of the face in the magic mirror that the evil queen talks to.
Oh.
Like in the shard that he gets sucked into. So it's unclear if that's just another reference, because the movie's full of references, or if they're trying to imply that this is the prequel
to Snow
White, which
wow, that's
we
interesting.
don't know, but interesting.
They actually did a great job on the mirror, I think, in the movie, in the live action. Yeah, like I was like, ooh, it kind of creeped me out a little bit, because I was like, yeah, that's exactly what you saw in the cartoon. Yeah. And just to see it in that size and stuff like that, I was like, oh, that was pretty cool. Again, Gal Gadot was my favorite part of the movie, the villain, other than her singing, but she was my favorite part. I thought she was great. Rachel Ziegler, nope.
She's also not your Maria, as you said.
Not my Maria. Not my Maria. So, yeah, just those two movies, major miss for us. I mean, I feel like you've done a few flashes for us.
I have kind of sort of just mixed in, yep. You know what we need to bring back Because, like, on movies being bad, I want, and I know that they're older, but please, please, Disney, can we just, if we can have one more, Musker and Clements and Menken and Mark Henn and Eric Goldberg. We need to get them together one more time.
One last movie.
Get them together. Give them all the resources they need. Give them no deadline, and just let them.
That should have been the 100th anniversary movie.
Absolutely,
Like,
absolutely.
why didn't we do that?
I don't know why it wasn't.
Yeah.
But please, like, just we need one more. We need one more.
We need some hope.
From
Even
this
though
team.
I got a little
Please.
hope from the Lilo and Stitch live action movie. I saw the trailer and I was like, you know what?
I have a little.
That was
hope.
okay. I actually enjoyed that, and that was yet another movie I was planning on skipping because I was like, I'm not gonna do that one.
Maybe it's time for a live action to be good, because there does seem to be this, right? Like, Beauty and the Beast, great. Aladdin, terrible. Lion King, great. Dumbo,
Mm-hmm.
like, there's almost this sort of 50-50 with the live actions. So maybe with Snow White being so bad, maybe Stitch will be good.
Uh-oh.
Oh no, what?
I just got
What?
a text message.
What's this?
This is from my client that I sent to, she's in Disneyland Tokyo right now.
Tokyo.
And she's asking me my favorite question whenever someone is at a park and they text me and they're like, hey, quick question. Who's your favorite Disney character? So I think she's getting me some merch from Disney or Disneyland Tokyo or Disneyland Tokyo.
Who's your favorite? Better question though. Different characters get love in the other parks that we miss out on here. So maybe consider not telling her your steadfast favorite character, but is there a character you really like that you don't get enough of that there might be there? Because, like, for example, Connor Wallace is so jazzed to go to Tokyo because Aristocats, huge there.
Oh.
Huge. Like, he's going to come home swimming in Marie merch. So
Okay, so then.
so maybe just consider.
Okay. That's a good one. Yeah, I never get any.
Because she can also get Fantasy Springs stuff, maybe.
Fantasy Springs. Oh, I just can't wait to go.
I know.
Anyway, that was exciting. Sorry, guys. I'm very, very excited for her to be out there. She planned a huge trip. This trip that we planned for her, she's up there for 2 weeks. She spent 1 week in Osaka, and then she also went to Universal Studios Japan. So I know she was there, and then she just checked in for her 3 days, 2 nights at Disney Tokyo, where they're doing the Fantasy Springs package.
Excited for Disney Tokyo.
Oh,
Tangled Land.
So the thing with, and this was all the hard stuff I learned when booking this trip, was that everyone wants to see Fantasy Springs.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to go on the Rapunzel ride, but you absolutely cannot get in there. You can't even go in there to shop unless you have tickets to get into that part of the park.
Yes.
So it's really, really one of the best ways to make sure that you are absolutely guaranteed a way to get in there without having to wait for premier passes or stand in line or anything, is if you do decide to go out there, do the package directly through Disneyland Tokyo, and do the Fantasy Springs package, which will include 1 full day at Fantasy Springs, and all of the rides there will be included in your ticket. So that way you don't have to worry about what is going on over there as far as they have a totally different system.
Yep.
Their system is rough. So
Contact Lelo if you want help.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me know if you want help with the Disneyland Tokyo, because I was like, I'm really glad that I did this for somebody else before I take my family, because I'm glad I got a little bit of practice. That was rough. And I know it's going to be a little bit more expensive, and it's only 3 days and 2 nights. Like, that's the biggest package you could get there with Fantasy Springs, but totally worth it. But when you get that package, it comes with like a free souvenir bucket. It comes with all of your meals included. It comes with a backpack, snacks. It's pretty incredible depending on how you want to go, but it's kind of more of an all-inclusive thing, which I appreciate. So, you know, for those of you, get on Disneyland Tokyo, just kind of check it out and see, but the Fantasy Springs vacation packages are going to be worth it. I know that you can get everything cheaper if you do a la carte in Tokyo, but to make sure you do everything you want to do. Yeah. Do the package.
I'm constantly fantasizing about Fantasy Springs.
I know. It looks so beautiful, and I really want to see the Rapunzel ride.
The Imagineers are saying that the Tangled ride is the most romantic ride ever created.
Is Robin Hood and his merry men in there?
And I'm already in love with Tangled. So
I know you are.
Well, so Wow, we didn't even get to half of the stuff that we wanted to get to.
Yeah.
So we know this one was long, guys, but we had some thoughts that we just needed to get out there. So, and we still even have more. So
Yeah. Well, next episode.
Next episode.
Like we said, we are going to be heading off to Universal Studios on both coasts. So we're going to be in Hollywood and in Florida. So we will be filming some segments at each location so that we can talk a little bit more about that.
But podcast should still drop every other Saturday.
Every other
as it has
Saturday.
been.
Yes. So anything else you want to add? Other than please follow, like, and subscribe.
Yes.
Would be wonderful.
Yes.
We are on
Congrats.
Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Audible, Apple Podcasts, all that fun stuff. And
We're
just
on all the podcast platforms.
yeah.
Maybe
Hitchhiking Ghostettes.
We're definitely not done ranting, but maybe we'll try to put something happy in the next one.
Yeah.
We'll try to put
Sorry.
some praise in.
Pretty rough.
But
Yeah, I think that will do it for today. We've talked your ears off enough. Definitely, if you check out Snow White and you happen to disagree with me, please leave a comment below, or if you're watching the video,
Sure.
or let us know what you think.
Yeah.
Because I would love to hear your opinion.
or if you want to explain to Lelo your Figment fandom. At some point, we'll get to the ones that I hate. Maybe people can explain them to me too. Because
I need some explanations on Figment, guys. I need it.
yep.
That's like telling me you love Jar Jar Binks. Like,
There are
once
people
you
out
tell
there that
me,
love Jar Jar Binks.
yeah, I'm like, you tell me that and I lose all faith. So,
Yep.
yeah, give me your ideas on it, your input. So, anyway, anything else? Yeah,
So yep, I think we're
good to go.
peacing out.
All right, talk to you later, guys.